guys, welcome back to part 2 of how to fix the Miami Dolphins. This episode we will be going over free agency, the draft, and just a final roster overview. But because free agency and the draft are in this video, some of you are definitely going to be upset. Let's get right into it. Alright, so going over the established roster from last video, at the quarterback position we have Ryan Fitzpatrick starting, and Josh Rosen right now currently on the roster. For the running backs we have Kalen Ballage. We also have Patrick Laird and Myles Gaskins. Don't forget about that fullback position where we have Chandler Cox. Wide receiver position, we're going to have Devontae Parker, Preston Williams, Isaiah Ford over there probably playing the slot. Allen Hurns on that 2-year contract that he recently earned. Next we have Mac Hollins. Following that, we have Gary Jennings, then Jakeem Grant. Now, going to the tight end, we only have 2. We have Mike Gesicki, and we have Durham Smythe, who's primarily a blocking guy. Offensive tackle is Jesse Davis and Julian Davenport as it stands right now. Offensive guard, we got Michael Dieter, however you want to pronounce it, and Danny Isadora, I believe it's called. Pronounced? I don't know. Who knows? Anyway, going to the center, we have 1. That's going to be Daniel Kilgore. Now, going to the defensive tackle position. Change it up. Go to defense. We have Christian Wilkins, Devon Godchaux, and John Jenkins. John Jenkins, the man. Sacked Tom Brady. All right, now going to the DM position. Finish off this D-line. We are going to have Taco Charlton, Charles Harris, Gerard Willis. And going to linebackers, we have Jerome Baker, Raekwon McMillan, Sam Eguavoen, Trent Harris, and Andrew Van Ginkel. All right, now into the secondary position at cornerback, we have Xavier Howard, we have Nick Needham, followed by Cordrea Tankersley. And then you're going to follow that up with Montre Hardage. Now, safety, we have Rashad Jones, Bobby McCain, Eric Rowe, and finish that out with Ken Webster. Kicker, it's going to stay the same, Jason Sanders. Punter, you have Matt Hack. And then can't forget about that long snapper like we did last video, Taylor Pepper, long snapper love. As you saw, our roster was cut down to 42 players, and we let 14 free agents walk. That's a lot of turnover. Our top offensive needs all include offensive line, quarterback, cornerback, running back, edge, and the safety position. All of these we can target through free agency and through the draft. Now, before we hop into free agency, which comes first, I'd like to point out that all of the salaries that were used I based off of the average of previous player salaries and the highest salaries at each position. Most contract lengths are based off of age. As for guaranteed money, I did that about roughly 75% of each contract is guaranteed. Now before we hop into this, let's keep in mind Brian Flores is the head coach of the Miami Dolphins, and he runs a 3-4 hybrid defense, and his offensive coordinator, Chan Gailey, runs a spread offense. So, 2 things we should keep in mind when looking at scheme fits going into free agency and the draft. Our first option going into free agency is looking at a long-term offensive tackle compared to a short-term offensive tackle. Now, for long-term, I based the contract off of Philadelphia Eagles right tackle Lane Johnson's recent contract, and the 2 players we're going to be looking at are Anthony Catastanzo from the Indianapolis Colts and Jack Conklin, the tackle from the Tennessee Titans. Costanzo is 32, while Jack Conklin is 26, but both have proven to be great in pass protection. As for our second option, we have DeMar Dotson and Marcus Gilbert, both veteran offensive tackles, and we would be signing them for 1 to 2 years and drafting a potential replacement to them. My plan here is to send DeMar Dotson, the right tackle for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, to a 1-year, $10 million deal with $6 million guaranteed. Now, the Dolphins do have over $100 million in cap room looking back after the cuts we have made in the last video. However, we don't want to spend that all in one place, and you have to keep in mind there's other positions of need. Now, while tackle isn't the only position we're going to address in free agency on the offensive line, offensive guard is another key position that we need to address. For long-term options, we have Brandon Sheriff from the Redskins and Joe Thuney from the Patriots. Veterans Ron Larry and Quentin Spain are two one-year Band-Aid patches to kind of cover up that spot. Here, I'm going to be signing Joe Thuney, the guard, 27 years old, from the Patriots, to a 5-year, $50 million deal with $37 million guaranteed. It's a lot of money to spend on O-line. With Thuney and Dotson, we can kind of put a little makeup on this pig of the Miami Dolphins offensive line. Now, going to the cornerback position, instead of giving myself options, I decided to look at all cornerbacks ranging from 27 to 28 that are on the market right now that are elite corners. Now, these corners include Byron Jones, James Bradbury, and Trey Waynes. Byron Jones here has to be the signing, another big signing for the Miami Dolphins. He can play cornerback or he can play safety. He's very versatile in that backfield and would be a great pairing with either Bobby McCain and Rashad Jones or Xavier Howard and Nick Needham. The contract here is looking like 4 years, $48 million with $32 million guaranteed. Now we're on to the running back position. I narrowed this down to 2 running backs. We got Kareem Hunt, we got Austin Ekeler. Kareem Hunt has his troubled past, but he has his best years of football ahead of him at 24 years old. Ekeler's not that far off though at 25, and he proved that he could be a bell cow back last season while playing for the Chargers in Melvin Gordon's absence. We're going to sign the 25-year-old Austin Ekeler here because he is a great complement for this heavy passing offense that Chan Gailey is running. Ekeler's going to be getting a huge contract of 5 years, $55 million with $35 million guaranteed, with the hopes that he can be our franchise running back going forward and a safety option for Ryan Fitzpatrick and whatever quarterback that we acquire in the draft. Now onto the edge position. We have Jason Pierre-Paul, we have Derek Wolfe, and we have Vic Beasley, who was recently decided by the Falcons that they will not re-sign him. Now, all are viable options, but we're going to go with JPP here. Because of his age at 31, JPP is going to be getting a 2-year deal worth $30 million, $17 million guaranteed. A lot of money, but edge positions cost a lot. The Miami Dolphins free agency acquisitions for 2020, in my opinion, are looking like DeMar Dotson, Joe Thuney, Byron Jones, Austin Ekeler, and Jason Pierre-Paul. It's a lot of money spent, but all going to be great upgrades to this offense and defense. Now, if you saw my first 2020 NFL mock draft, you would see who I had the Miami Dolphins take in the first round with their first 3 picks of the draft. These players include Andrew Thomas, offensive tackle from Georgia, C.J. Henderson, the cornerback from Florida, and Jacob Eason, the quarterback from Washington, is going to be the quarterback of the future for this Miami Dolphins team. At pick 5, Miami Dolphins are getting Andrew Thomas, the left tackle from Georgia. He is a pro-ready left tackle and is a plug-and-play who can start and improve this offensive line week 1 going into the season. As for C.J. Henderson, he's an incredible athlete and a great quarterback for the Florida Gators this past season. However, he could work on his tackling a little bit, but his upside is huge. Pairing him with Byron Jones and Xavier Howard would make for an incredibly scary secondary on this Miami Dolphins team. Now, this is the controversial pick. We're going to go to a Tagovailoa with pick 5. Instead, we went Andrew Thomas. We waited until pick 26 to take Jacob Eason. Now, Jacob Eason is falling because his inconsistency in play in his final year at Washington, and he's had quite a couple injuries. One that kept him out all of the 2018 season. Eason has a big ass arm. I'm talking Patrick Mahomes level arm, all right? Now, this is perfect for Chan Gailey's spread offense. If you take him and his, accuracy issues that he has, and you sit him behind Ryan Fitzpatrick for a year, when he comes out and he's a better decision maker and he is, gotten healthy and fully recovered from that injury in 2018, he will come out and he will do Patrick Mahomes-like things. I am absolutely in love with Jacob Eason this year as a prospect, and I think not going with him for the Dolphins would be a huge mistake. You don't have to waste your first 2 draft picks on him, and you end up getting a starting left tackle and starting cornerback in the process. It seems like a no-brainer to me. At pick 39, I have the Miami Dolphins going Curtis Weaver, edge rusher from Boise State. This guy is explosive. Last season, for Boise State, he had 13 and a half sacks. 13 and a half sacks! It's freaking nuts for a college player. I mean, they play less games in the NFL, keep that in mind. This guy is an absolute athletic freak. He can play linebacker, he can play D-end. However, he does have some issues disengaging blocks, and that is something he needs to work on, working on the other side of Jason Pierre-Paul this upcoming season. Now, at pick 56, we have Jonathan Taylor, the running back from Wisconsin. This dude is an absolute animal. Although he had over 900 carries and his durability is a concern, the dude proved that he can be a franchise back. Now, if you pair him with Austin Eckler, you have a great tandem in that backfield. If he can keep his fumbles down, he'll be an amazing acquisition to this offense going into 2020. At pick 70, we have Nick Harris, the center out of Washington. Daniel Kilgore is getting up there in age. They need a backup center. They need to improve on this O-line any way they can. Here, at the beginning of the 3rd round, they get their center, they get their guy. But not only that, he has experience with Jacob Eason. He's undersized at 6'1", but hey, this guy has had a ton of experience playing over 3 seasons at Washington. And he can step in the 2021 season and be an instant starter. At pick 135, we get Julian Blackmon out of Utah for the Miami Dolphins. This guy is a great tackler and reminds me a lot of like Taylor Rapp coming into the draft. You know, his coverage can be a little aggressive at times, and you got to develop him more, but he has the potential to be a 3rd transitional safety in the NFL. At pick 144, we get Nick Coe out of Auburn. Now, this guy somehow fell in the draft. Not sure how, but at 6'5", 290 pounds, Nick Coe can play either defensive tackle or defensive end, and it'll be great in this hybrid 3-4 scheme defense. Now, he's going to be more of a rotational guy for now. If he can develop his pass rush tools, Nick Coe can be an absolute liability to offenses. At pick 147, we get a lengthy corner in Stanford Samuels III out of Florida State. At 6'2" and 185, Samuels needs to put on a little weight, a little meat, but he's great in zone defense. And to plug and play him in as your 5th, 6th corner on this Miami Dolphins team would be instrumental to the defense. Now at 165, we get Tyler Clark, defensive tackle out of Georgia. This guy has a killer swim move and great length, standing at 6'4". However, his motor can be quite inconsistent, and all he has is a swim move. You know, this guy's swimming, but he doesn't really have a great rip or anything else in his toolbox. So he's more of a defensive tackle that the Miami Dolphins need to develop going into the season. With our second to last pick, 177, we have Calvin Throckmorton, the 6'5" offensive lineman from Oregon. This guy's kind of pro-ready, but his ceiling isn't that high. He's probably going to be a swing tackle at best, but he adds some depth to your offensive line. And finally, with the last pick in the draft at 223, we have David Reese, aka Mr. Irrelevant, last pick in the draft, standing at 6'1". David Reese is a smart and experienced linebacker. However, David Reese's lack of explosiveness and athleticism is going to be the reason he's going to fall here to the last pick in the draft. He'll be lucky if he makes the team, but if he does, he'll be an alright interior linebacker.
Alright, now that we've established all of the moves that we will make in this offseason via free agency and the draft, it is now time to get into our final roster. Kicking off the offense, we have the quarterback position. Here, our quarterbacks include Ryan Fitzpatrick, Josh Rosen, and Jacob Eason. Next up is the running back position. Here we have Austin Eckler, Jonathan Taylor, Kalen Ballage, Patrick Laird, and our fullback, Chandler Cox. Diving into the wide receiver position, we have Devontae Parker, Preston Williams, Isaiah Ford, Alan Hearns, Jakeem Grant, and Matt Collins. We're only going to have 2 tight ends on the roster. That's going to be Mike Gesicki and Durham Smythe. Next up, we have the offensive tackle position, where we will have Andrew Thomas, Jesse Davis, DeMar Dotson, and Julian Davenport. Our offensive guards will include Joe Tooney, Michael Dieter, Calvin Throckmorton, and Danny Isadora. For centers, we only have two, and that's going to be Daniel Kilgore and his future replacement, Nick Harris. Now as for the defense, we're going to dive into the defensive tackle position where we have Christian Wilkins, Devon Godchow, John Jenkins, and Tyler Clark. Following that is the defensive end position with Jason Pierre-Paul, Taco Charlton, Nick Coe, and Charles Harris. The Dolphins are going to farewell a linebacker with Jerome Baker, Raekwon McMillan, Sam Eguavoen, Curtis Weaver, Andrew Van Ginkel, and David Reese II. Next we have cornerback to start off the secondary. Xavier Howard, Byron Jones, C.J. Henderson, Nick Needham, Cordia Tinkersley, and Stanford Samuels III. Now to wrap up the secondary and the defense, we have the safety position, which includes Rashad Jones, Bobby McCain, Eric Rowe, and Julian Blackman. Now we have 6 players that did not make the final 53-man roster, but will be signed to the practice squad. These players include running back Myles Gaskins, wide receiver Gary Jennings, DN Gerard Willis, linebacker Trent Harris, cornerback Ken Webster, and safety Montre Hardage. Alright, thank you guys for watching my How to Fix Miami Dolphins series. Leave a like if you enjoyed, and just leave a comment of what team you'd like to see next, along with any future video ideas you would like to see me produce for the channel. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and click that notifications bell if you want to be notified whenever I post. Hope everyone has a great day.
Oh, you're still here. Well, if you want to click right here, you can watch another video, or right here and you can subscribe. Either's fine with me. Have a nice day.